guys, welcome back to the episode of the Quarter Flag Talk podcast. It's your boy John, and we are not here to talk to you about the latest in football. We are here with another guest on the show, and we follow one esteem on with another one. But before I introduce him, I have Brandon here again with me. Brandon, what's it good, my guy?
Well, you set it up as if you was gonna introduce me, but there's somebody even better on the pod this week. John is trying to give me wrinkles from the smiles he has me in for the past 2 weeks. So,
Yeah,
John,
I mean,
please tell
look,
us who we have on the pod this week.
was better than one Canadian than another half Canadian. We have somebody who is famous on the scene right now. He does content with SDSD. He does content with Sky Sports. He just hit 90K on YouTube. He is the mastermind champion. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, Lyles Buzini. Thank you very much, bro, for being here with us. We really appreciate
That
having
might
you
be
here.
the
How are you
best
going?
intro I think I've ever gotten in my life, man. I can't lie. I don't think anyone can beat that.
Hey, Fuad, you hear that, bro? Step up your game. Step up your game. All right, guys. So, what we're going to do here today is because we actually recorded this during the international break, but we didn't want to do anything around that. We wanted to talk about some overriding themes that are pervading through football right now. And so, we're going to discuss that with him. Obviously, we have the mastermind champion here. We're going to ask him some questions at the back end of this. Some of it may or may not be Trini related. I'm not sure if he has the trophy here with him.
I was looking at it back there.
Hey. And we're gonna put him to the test. And so, without further ado, let's get straight into it. So, the first major topic, allows you start us off here with it, is world class players today versus previous eras. Now, I have had for a little while now think that, and I think Jude Bellingham, even more so up because he's been in the news this week. To me, he's the biggest example of this problem. Because for me, I remember watching his first year at Real Madrid, and I thought, like, that sits in the pantheon of greatest debut campaigns ever by a midfielder at the level that he went to, with the number he took on, with what he achieved. And I felt like it was so fast, everybody forgot about that to the second year. And I was saying that, if somebody, another attacking midfielder from the era, probably pre-Messi and Ronaldo, had that, they would have been able to live off of that for many years after that. So do you think that players of today, the best players of today, are held to a much higher standard than the ones from years gone by?
It's an interesting question, to be honest with you. I definitely agree that Jude, that first season at Real Madrid, when you look back on it, to come in, and I think the context that's important here is that the season prior had been Eden Hazard's last season at the club, and Eden Hazard is arguably the greatest flop in Real Madrid's history, as much as I love him as a player, right? He has maybe the worst time at Real Madrid as a big player coming to the team. And he left in the same summer that Jude joined for 100 million plus. Another thing to mention here is that 100 million plus price tag never really gets brought up. And when you talk about players that go for that much money, if the price tag never gets brought up, it's usually a good thing. It usually means that they have probably justified it in the eyes of most people. And for him to do what he did in that first season, the goals on his debut, the goals in the Clásico, I was there when he scored away to Barca in the final moment, and then that long shot. It was incredible. It felt like every single week, maybe for at least the first 60% of the season, was just brute sanity. It felt like he had the world at his feet. Now, did he kind of fade a bit towards the end of the campaign? Yeah, but I think also when you take into account how old he was and how the team was kind of going in that direction, I think it was a fantastic first season. On the conversation of, are players judged more today than before? Yeah, probably. I would say so. I think the rise of social media, and I would also say just the growth of the game in general. We have so much more access to football than we ever have, right? I remember my dad telling me stories about back in the day, they watch a player play maybe once a year at the World Cup. Or they hear a story from the old guy in the village about how George Best is the greatest player he ever saw in his life, and he was like a wizard. And he probably got to see George Best play once in his entire life. So myths kind of grow the more you kind of watch them less and less, right? And if someone shines and you're one or two times watching them, or especially like players used to do at a World Cup, for example, maybe Maradona has that 1986 World Cup. Oh my goodness, you never see his bad moments. You only see the good moments because of the accessibility that you have. Similar to back in the day, maybe people weren't watching as much La Liga if you're living in England. So the one or two times you do see Pablo Aimar, for example, you think you're seeing the greatest player ever. And that's not to take anything away from those guys, because I think they're all great players. But today, I think the access that we have to football, you can watch any single game, probably around the world. If you wanted to watch Boca River the other day, I'm sure you look hard enough, you can find a stream to watch it. You want to watch
We know
any
you
African
did.
qualifier, yeah, you want to watch any African qualifier, you can probably find that link. Football has
Yeah.
never been as accessible to the world as it is now, and that's a beautiful thing. I wouldn't change that for anything. But with that comes exposure to players' best moments, but also their worst moments. And you add to that highlights now, YouTube, fail comps. Yeah, man, I think the exposure has definitely helped grow the game. But at the same time, yeah, these players now, everything that they do is put under a magnifying glass, where that maybe wasn't the case 15, 20, 25 years ago.
Brandon, I think something for me is also that, like, I think that football, not to make it sound nostalgic, but like football really hit a peak then when Messi and Ronaldo were there. And I think that when it rose in that time, and social media also rose coming out of that, I feel like there's a longing for that caliber of player again. And because of that now, there is the standard being held to players nowadays that probably is a bit unrealistic. Like, there is the term that, a rising tide floats all boats, right? And I think that as Messi and Ronaldo push that level so high, it also, I do think that they provided us with probably the greatest generation of football I will ever see. Like we're gonna talk about in a little bit about comparing the Premier League to other leagues and stuff like that, right? Bro, in those times, a Premier League player couldn't probably one could get into what was Real Madrid and Barcelona's 11. That was the standard that they were at. And so I want to ask you that, do you think that is a byproduct of that the high standard is because of a hangover coming out of the Messi Ronaldo era?
I also think that there's something that Leah's talked about, and the exposure is a big one. But I also think it's like we talk about this all the time. It's the type of lens that you look at the game through now, and I feel like many years ago, back then, there wasn't as much money in the game. So I think now a big thing with every single player is the transfer fee that they go for, which is not something that we should look at when it comes to players, but we just do
Hmm.
because it's a natural thing to go to. And another thing, I mean, Leas will know this because he talks about it all the time. Another lens is GA, right? Like we look at all these things, and Messi and Ronaldo, as you brought up, the GA kings, like they are the standard that everybody is striving to. And
Yeah.
in the end, are those realistic metrics that we use to grade players as well? So as I say, maybe it isn't. I'd like to know what Leas thinks about that aspect of it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yes.
mean, look, we'll talk about statistics, I think, later on, right? I think we have a whole segment for that, but I completely agree as well, too. I think how much of a magnifying lens we have under how many goals and assists a player scores as well, too, has completely warped the way we view players. Where I do think, and this might sound a little nostalgic, it might be like through rose tinted glasses, but I do think the way we used to watch football was in a more pure sense, in terms of we were kind of looking for players to just entertain us or to show us something we didn't see
Yeah.
typically. We were really
Yeah.
watching for the essence of football, whereas now I think a way bigger emphasis is put on numbers and statistics and consistency and winning, of course, which is all important, no doubt about it. But I think we definitely do prioritize that now than maybe we did 20 years ago. And a consequence of that is, I mean, now players who play the way we like 20 years ago are labeled aesthetic merchants, right? The players that we like
Yeah.
now are almost with that in mind, looking to now put up 20 GA or 30 GA, when maybe 20 years ago was that even really a priority for most players. For most players back in the day, it's like, okay, if you score 20 goals in the league, you're a gunman. Now it's like, oh,
Yeah.
I need to get 10 assists and I need to get 35 goals in all competitions, and that's what's going to make me seen as a top player. So I think that's changed a little bit as well too. But I think ultimately, right, when I'm of the belief, I think, and again, maybe there is a sense of nostalgia. I think people can look at this two different ways, but I think when you look at the pool of players now, I think by consequence of how the game has kind of evolved, I think the floor of football has massively improved.
Yeah.
Whereas that means, I guess,
Hmm.
like the average player today is probably better than they were 10, 15 years ago. You look at center backs now on the ball, you look at fullbacks doing roles that I never could have imagined they would do. But I think at the same time as well, too, I think the ceiling of the best players has probably come down a little bit too. And I think that's even
Yeah.
before the Ronaldo Messi era, where even when you had Zidane or Ronaldinho, you had even the likes of Kaká. I'm not sure how many players you can look at in the modern game that are as gifted as those guys were. So that's not to say there's
Yeah.
no great players right now, right? I just said Jude for me is a phenomenon. I think he's incredible. But I do feel like the ceiling of football from a quality point of view has kind of came down. And maybe that could be a consequence of the fact that it's so much harder to stand out now because, again, the floor has come up. But yeah, that's
Yeah.
the way I kind of view it.
Yeah. I think we are all in agreement then that the difference in lens has changed from players from 20 years ago to now, and I think just was more interested for me is to just like why it is we reached this point, and something that I mentioned before, we're going to mention it again because it's something I really think about a lot, is the hangover from Messi and Ronaldo, and the reason that I say that is because I've held a very loosely held opinion that I think that there is you see, saying field is very strong, but like there's a field generation then between Messi and Ronaldo and the current generation, right? And I think that there are players from that generation that stand out significantly, right? There's unfortunately KDB, there's Salah, there's Kimmich, and there's all these players who would at this point in time fall between like 28 and 35, And I think what has ended up happening is because that generation didn't live up to the standard of the years before that, that there is a hunger of waiting for, okay, well, who's next? Like, who's going to be the next one to uphold this really high standard? Because the really unfortunate truth is that in that era, there isn't much players that stand out in the way of the times of the early 2010s, Because, like, again, we are all fans of the game and stuff, but, like, Neymar shouldn't be in Brazil right now. Lukaku should not be off a cliff right now. Morata shouldn't be irrelevant.
But you say,
Griezmann,
you say that, John, but at the same time,
yeah,
too, you look at players who came before the Messi and Ronaldo era, and at Neymar's age, Ronaldo Nazario was in Brazil. So was Ronaldinho,
yeah,
right? I
yeah,
think of Henri at Lukaku's age. He wasn't in MLS. So I think it's like those guys were such an outlier in between that we forgot to
hmm
remember. No, they're the exception to the rule. Most players
yeah,
shouldn't still be scoring 40 goals a season at 36 years old. You know what I mean?
yeah. I know. I agree with that. I'm saying that we don't want to accept that as the norm anymore.
Yeah.
Like before Messi and Ronaldo, we were okay to accept that as the norm, right? Because like I've said this before, if it is that Zidane had his club campaigns that he had then now, nobody's gonna want to hear about how good he was for France, and that's sad, but it's true. Like
Yeah.
when you hear about how old Juventus fans talk about Zidane, you, and then how we talk about Zidane now because like we are younger, we grew up on Zidane off World Cups and stuff like that. But what they were watching every single week, that wouldn't fly now. And that is kind of like where I come from with the yesteryear versus somebody like Jude then. Because like, I think Jude, and again, it's probably more up that we talk about it given a week where I think he's been under a ridiculous amount of criticism. But like these
Unnecessary
players,
criticism.
yeah, and so unwarranted given that England probably are the best place they have been in over 20 years, right? But besides that, like these players have are under this pressure now because of our thirst to see players hit that level that we saw in Messi and Ronaldo again. And that's unfair. Like I think we are all seeing that is unfair because all our favorites growing up, whether it be Drogba, it be Henry, it be Berbatov, it be Tevez, all these guys from the years before, they had inconsistent years. They had the inconsistencies. But players now, there is no allowance fit. You
Yeah.
know, like
I think
what it
that's I think that's
is,
yeah,
yeah,
I think you're right in that. I was talking to Cam the other day about this, and it stemmed from the fact that I think after the Arsenal result against Sunderland, which was like their first dropped points in weeks, right? Like they had been so perfect up to that point, and it was still
yeah.
a point drop. That's not the end of the world, right? But I saw someone on Twitter say like, "Can we talk about how Calafiori has low-key been super overrated this entire season?" And it was like,
Yeah,
wow,
bro.
it took one okay
Yeah,
result for you to
exactly.
completely flip on one player. And it made me think to Cam, I said, I think we're living in the most overcritical generation ever. Like we
Yeah,
I think to myself, like, oh, right now I'm really critical about Man United, but I can't wait till we're good again and I can just be but then I think to myself, like, even when we're good, am I gonna just forget everything or am I gonna still be looking at everything almost expecting perfection in a sport that perfection is impossible? I
yeah,
think that's maybe a byproduct of society again as well too, in terms of when you look at how overexposed we are to everything. We
yeah,
demand perfection when perfection has probably never even existed.
yeah. Brandon.
Yeah, I want to say I think what we do a lot is that we romanticize longevity in the game, and in the sense that we romanticize it that everybody needs to be good for a certain amount of time, and that amount of time has to be of a certain length. Because if you look at players over the years, we talked about Neymar. Hazard is an excellent example. Players from before that generation as well. Their peaks, they live for the peaks. That is the entire a footballer lives for the peaks of their career. They don't live to be 15 years at the top. You know that
Yeah,
I have
that's
a
so
friend.
true.
We talk about this all the time. Like professional footballers are the 1% of the 1%. You know, so there's very little room for them. You know, when they go in towards the top. So once they make it to the top, you know, they don't need to carry it on for 15, 20 years. You know, so what do you think about longevity, Elias? Like, I mean, I don't think that it's not important. I don't think that, you know, people should look at it differently or negatively or anything. But do you think that has anything to do with it, especially consistency and longevity?
You know, it's funny. I think longevity when it comes, I value longevity a lot more when I think of managers. Like, if you're able to
Mm,
withstand the test of time and adapt yourself and change as the game changes, that for me is super important when you look at a manager, right? But for
mm-hmm.
players, I'm not gonna lie. For me, I've always been of. I say always. Maybe the last 6 years, I've really changed my way of thinking about football, and I really value peak way more than I do longevity. So for me, it doesn't really matter if one player played for 15 years if his peak wasn't ever higher in those 15 years than someone who did it for 6 years, I can never consider that player a better player than the other, even though he did it for almost twice as long. For me, how good you were at your best ever level is the barometer for me. Now, if two players are at a similar level and one does it for way, way longer, then okay, of course.
Yeah, yeah,
And of course, longevity is also a good barometer of seeing how real is this guy's chain, right? Like if you do it for 2 years but then fall off, maybe you were never that good. It was just a bit of form. But if you're able to do it for 4 or 5 years, then for me, that's the longevity I care about. But I don't really care if you're able to do what you did for 12 years in a row. If you did it even for 4 or 5, or 3 or 4 or 5, I know, okay, you were of that quality. So, if to answer your question, I think for players, I really value at this point in time just how good you are, man. It doesn't really matter to me if you do it for however many years.
yeah. Before we come off this topic, just last thing I want to ask then is like, do I think this is also just so emblematic of how micro we try to get at players, right? And I'm gonna use Salah as the example for this, right? It is so amazing to know that there is a narrative against Salah that he doesn't perform in the last 10 games of a season. When at that point, he probably already has 20 something goals and God knows how many assists.
Mm,
You know, and I'd forget like GA, bro. Like, he performs, you know? And like, I think, like, while I think not that a player should get 10 games off, but like, bro, if I carried y'all for 30 games, could somebody else please step up and do
get the
something in
job
10,
done.
right? But it's so emblematic of how overly under the microscope players are now, right? That like it has to be every single moment. It doesn't matter
Right.
if I like again, right? I'm an Arsenal fan. Love Thierry Henry. Greatest player I've ever passed, right? But like imagine in nowadays if Henry had all these great games leading up to finals and wasn't he one to score any finals. Like he would have been treated the same way Salah is treated now.
Yeah.
You know, and like I think Salah is so heavily disrespected, bro. He has been at the hands of my club's downfall many times. But I still think that he's so heavily underrated for that. And so I last thing, Liaz, before we move off, is do you have anything else you want to just close off with on the topic of, you know, compare the two different generations?
Yeah, I think to your point about Salah, I think that's really again kind of goes back to my point about how as a society now everything has to be just microanalyzed, and I think you're absolutely right. Like I would even go as far as to say, is there any player bar Messi at this point, and that's only because he won the World Cup, that doesn't have one thing in their career that people hang on to? Because Messi for the longest
Uh,
was like, oh, he doesn't do it for Argentina, and even him, who I consider the greatest player of all time, had to basically like battle that narrative that people kept hitting at him. Cristiano Ronaldo,
uh,
people say, oh, he's never scored a knockout goal in the World Cup. People will say about Henri, his finals record. People will say about Mbappe, he's never won the Champions League. People will say about Haaland, he never scores. I feel like every single player at the end of the day has something that people target them for. And I almost think to myself sometimes, if you don't have that, maybe you're just not relevant enough. So
yeah.
it goes back to your point. Like everybody has something about them that people will hit you with.
Yeah, and the third point that we had here was really to talk about GA, but I think given how the conversation flowing, we'll do the GA one now, right? And again, I think Henri is a really good example of this because I've during COVID, not so much how Leah's does it now, also went back and watched old games, right? Games before my time and stuff.
Good man.
I went I went and watched Henri 2000 Euros finals, bro. He had no GA in that. I saw how he was the best player. But the thing is, what would happen now? That game would happen now. Sure, they would win. He would get a yellow rating on Sofa Score, and that's what's going to be used to push across social media. And so, Liaz, I know that you spoke about it already this week, but if you just put it in a nutshell to just kind of open up the discussion, the misuse of statistics in modern day football discourse.
I think that's the perfect word, right? Misuse, because I think statistics, like in all walks of life, they're important. They have a necessity. And when you look at the best players ever, right? They didn't score 2 goals a season. They're scoring goals. So it's not to say that statistics don't matter. Otherwise, why even play with goals, right? But yeah, I think the misuse is the correct word here. I think the way they've been used in 2025 now, so out of context, because I think everything is contextual when you really look at it. But yeah, just to focus on GA for me, I made a TikTok on it, and I'll probably just say it again now. I think it's the worst stat in football at the moment.
Yeah.
And I say that because I just hate how it's actually gone mainstream. I hate that I turn on like punditry and I hear ex players use the word. I hate how like
Yeah, bro.
it's just like it's been now. It's like now an official term for people now, and I just can't believe it because I guess I'm just gonna sound like an old head this entire thing, but I remember growing up, like assists just never like were never something that people tallied. They were not something that people like were really taking or using as serious ammo in football conversations. In fact, even this whole 2020 record that Henri has, I don't think it was as spoken about now at the time when it happened as it is now. I almost feel like it's viewed higher now than it was in the moment. I go as far as to say, does anybody even know who had the assist record before Henri did? I don't think most people would. I know it because I went to look it up. It was Eric Cantona of 18, but no one said at the time,
Yeah.
"Oh, Henri has broken Cantona's record," because no one was
Yeah.
keeping track. At the time, it was like who's scoring goals. That was the stat that will always who puts the ball in the back of the net. That I can't argue has always been the main statistic. That's my kind of qualm with assists, which I find to be a flawed statistic. I don't think it's a bad statistic, but for me, I guess my thing with assists is I just don't think assists are the best representation of somebody's creativity, right? I
Yeah.
think someone could be creative, a brilliant playmaker, a brilliant passer, and end the game with 0 assists. Look at Iniesta, for example, how many seasons he finished with single digit assist tallies. And yet he was bar Messi, the most creative player on the pitch. Assists
Mm-hmm.
for me, it's just about who gets the final pass, but I can still value it as a statistic, excuse me, in its lone self. For me, the problem comes when you try and combine that with goals. And when you look at the term GA, that is goals and assists. Effectively, you are adding someone's assist tally and their goal tally into one overall tally. My big problem with that is by doing so, you're almost adopting the logic that one goal equals one assist. Therefore, you can add them together and it's perfectly fine. And you can find a tally at the end that perfectly sums them up. I think that's ridiculous logic, to be honest with you, because in no way, shape, or form, in my mind, is an assist worth the same as a goal. And some people will say, well, some assists are absolutely brilliant, they're better than the goal. But I think the reality comes down to every assist requires a goal at the end of it. Not every goal
Yeah.
requires an assist for it to happen. And the frequency that you see something like, I don't know, Isaac's assist against Everton that one season is a rarity, man. So for me, that's my biggest issue in the game right now. Combining goals and assists into one statistic has just, for me, almost FPLized the game. Like, I think this is an FPL thing where we value assists and goals the same, but bringing it into the real world doesn't make much sense to me personally.
Yeah. Brandon?
Do you guys watch
Yeah,
NBA? Or do you guys watch basketball at all?
yeah, I do. Yeah,
Yes,
So
we
for
very,
do.
me,
very,
like
very.
I know there's a stat, for
I am
example.
also a Raptors fan, bro.
There you go, my
2018 was
brother.
the greatest
Hey,
time of my life.
we're living right now, huh? We're doing well.
We are, we are.
Yeah, man. Now watch out for us. But you guys know this. I mean, I found out recently because I'm a basketball fan. I wouldn't call myself like a mad basketball fan like I am with
Yeah,
football,
yeah,
but I
yeah.
watch it, right? I found out recently that there was a stat called PR. Wait, was it PAR? PRA?
PER, player
No, not
efficiency
PER,
rating.
not PER, not performance. This is PR. It's like either PRA or PAR, and it's basically the addition of points, assists, and rebounds. That's a statistic in basketball that I didn't know existed until this week
Mm-hmm.
because I was basically saying in football, the logic behind adding goals and assists is like doing that in basketball. Does that even exist? And someone came to me and said it does exist. It's not used by anybody though. It's like used by people who love Jokic, who try and gas him up because he usually has the most points, assists, and rebounds. But yeah,
Yeah.
it would be like, oh, adding everybody. So LeBron at the end of a game has, oh, he doesn't have 30 and 12. He's got 42 point assists. What the hell does
Mm-hmm.
that mean, bro? What? Like
Yeah.
they should be separated for me.
Yeah. Brandon?
Yeah, I mean, what I was gonna say is, I feel like there's been a what's how do I want to put this? There's been a coexistence of these two things at the same time, and they just so happen to meet ahead. So I think that the natural progression of the sport was that we were always gonna include statistics, and there was always going to be some type of increase in the use of statistics and the
Rightfully so, by the
accuracy
way. I
of
have no
statistics.
qualm about that.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
100%. I don't think anybody disputes that. The other thing is that I feel like we as fans we always look for players who match these statistics, and when I say that I mean that specifically in an aesthetic way. So like for example, I completely agree with everything you say about assists. I have explained to John that I think they need to fix the assists statistic because it's not correct, for lack of a better word, right? There's a
Yeah.
better way to represent assists, really. And those things came from certain players. And I always talk about like De Bruyne is a perfect example. Like without players like him, we would not be as invested in assists as we are because
Man, but you steal my point. I was going to say that about Ozil. That is so. Go
It's a
ahead.
great point. Whoever wanted to
yeah.
say it, it's a great point. Yeah.
Well, I'll make his point. I'll make his point for him then. Ozil is another example, and he might be the first one that really started it because when he was given Cristiano goals every single week, and everybody said this guy is the best creator in the world. That is what we expect. But sometimes, and I use Bruno Fernandes as an example. I hope you don't hate me for it, but I think a lot of his statistics are inflated. And they don't really tell the true story of what really goes on. So he seems to be a better creator on paper than he is actually on the field. And I think that is a real problem that statistics has because even though it gives us the picture, it's not giving us the correct picture or it's not showing us what we want to see as fans. And I think that to me is the real problem there. Like that statistics is so weird. Like it's you're trying to take a non-real thing and put it into a real thing, and
Yeah.
it's just so weird that way.
No, I completely agree, man. I mean, but the thing is, like, every stat is like that, right? Because even goals, right? Like, is goals the best representation? Someone could say XG is the best representation of how good a goal scorer you is. I think you perfectly summed it up. Everything just has to be contextualized a lot better than it actually is. Because even if we go into expected assists or big chances created, those stats are not perfect either. You can find flaws in those as well. But I think that's the problem with the way with statistics now becoming a mainstream thing. I think in the hands of the correct people, that's a beautiful thing. But when you give it to just your everyday casual fan or like an ex player who's reading it on a stat sheet, you're using it almost as like a blanket statement. And I think
Yeah.
that's where you start to lose people because there's no context actually applied to the statistic you're reading.
I I still saw because he takes my whole point. But what I was going to say is essentially the same thing, right? Is that I also think in my heart of hearts, it is because I'm Messi, is how we reach here, and it's because wait, this can't sound like we real
You're just
hater
gonna
on
blame
Messi
Messi
or
for
Ronaldo.
everything with football,
Yeah,
aren't
bro.
you?
But like I think it's
He killed the
because
game, man.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Why
Too
did
good.
he have to be so good, bro? But I think it's because like Messi and Ronaldo were going head to head for years, right? And Ronaldo was so much more focused on being a goal scorer that assists rose in prominence to try and help with the debate between Messi and Ronaldo, right? However, what it is I would like to say is because of Ozil, and I really do think that in some way because I think Ozil is the first player in my lifetime, and some old head can listen to something otherwise, that was so concentrated on that final pass. Like I don't know any other player before or even after who was so fixated on being so good at the final pass constantly. I saw Ozil come today and every single assist is a one-touch finish. Every
Yeah.
single one. Like, and that is what, like, I think like, Brandon, I know you would say this, right? But like that's what I also think a real assist is, right? Where it gives the person only one chance to finish. Maybe two at best. But it shouldn't be that like okay, well, the Busquets assist to Messi. The one in the Classico, right? Where he then go and run through three men, right? And that's a false equivalency. Because then, as you said, Leah, is that we are equating the simple pass Busquets does to Messi running through five men and then
Yeah.
scoring. And it isn't the same thing. And I think back to discourse nowadays is that like because you said this so well just now that because the flow has risen so much is that it almost compressed players that we use in GA now because it is undebatable. Rather, forget GA. We are using statistics now because you can't debate it. When we come out of a game, if somebody has an goal, has an assist, has none, you can't debate that. To use that to differentiate between players. And I genuinely think this that like I do content creation and I love our community and stuff, but like there is only a subset of people I actually bother to talk about the game with because it gets so about the minutia about it. Like, for example, Eze, right? Like right now. Like I've seen people like be overly critical about it. I like whereas I've enjoyed what I've seen. I've seen what he's tried to do. I couldn't be bothered. I mean, by the end of the season, he needs to have more goals and assists, right? That's fine. But like I've seen the stuff that on the ball that he's trying to create, and because there is no statistic to equate somebody dribbles, Hazard is probably the best example. Is Hazard only had one true standout GA season,
Yeah.
which
His
is when
last
he
one.
went 16 and 15 or 15 and
Yeah.
16, whatever it was under Sarri, right? Bro, his other campaigns was like 7 and 7 or 15 and 8 or something like that, right? Did anybody dispute that he was the best player in the league at that point?
Yeah. No.
No, they didn't, right? I saw that man sit my favorite defender on his butt, dog,
Same.
Koscielny in the
Same, man.
3
No
1,
worries. Same.
right? Yeah, and like, but nobody was disputing that just because he was a racking a hat trick against West Ham or something like that, or a hat trick of assists against Bolton or whoever it might be, But that's where the discourse has reached, and it's because of it's a good thing I put this topic second, because like the both of them really do intertwine with one another. Is that like the hyper focus on criticizing players now needs an immediate tool to fuel that argument.
Yeah.
And so we go on from enjoying players and not having something tangible to hold to them, to then now every single game your green light on sofa score matters. Every single game your football rating matters. And like I'm not gonna pretend like we aren't, like our podcast isn't capable of using football and sofa score and
Of
stuff like
course.
that. But because it's part of content creation, right? But it has aided in the decrease in level of conversation around the sport.
Oh,
And
100%.
I'm aware that that's not what it was meant for. I love, because I'm very nerdy, right? I love being able to go and look up GA. I love being able to go and look at trends and stuff. But like, it has depreciated the quality of this. Brandon, you look like you want to say something.
No,
ahead.
you changed what you said. So now you make me look a little silly because you said it depreciated the conversation, but that's not what you said at the start. But I was gonna say that it has created different types of conversation. So
Right,
I'll
yeah.
use the exact point right there. Like you said, Hazard only had one season where he was outstanding in GA, right? And what
Yeah.
the statistics do is that they make us go back and be revisionist about a lot of things, right? So a perfect example is Alexis Sanchez, right? One of the best players in the league at the time, right? And coincided with Hazard having his best years in the league. Now, if you look at GA, people will come and tell you, oh, well, Sanchez is probably actually better than Hazard, in this
My friend
season or
Liban
whatever.
does it all the time. Don't worry.
Yeah. And you're like, well, no, he wasn't. I mean, we all lived through it. We know how good Hazard was. We're
Brandon,
not saying Sanchez wasn't good, but
Liz,
that doesn't tell the story.
Brandon can tell you that I am telling the truth. I am an Arsenal fan. And I sit here, and I've been saying for the last like 5 years that we're doing this pod, that I would have taken that Hazard season over Alexis every single day.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with GA. I have real time for what Alexis was at Arsenal.
For
But he was
sure.
a
For sure. One of my
hugely
favorite players.
frustrating player at times, right? And this can send me down a whole road, but he single-handedly sabotaged our season that same year that he got all that goals and assists. Because what people don't always know is that essentially he fell out with Wenger because he didn't want to play centre forward anymore, which meant that he went back on the wing, which meant Giroud ended up starting more games than he should have at that point in time, and then we went from being in a title race to finishing fifth. Like that is how drastic the fall off was, right?
Yeah.
Whereas Hazard, it didn't matter if it is that he was playing wing in a 4-3-3, or if it is on the Conte he was playing as an inside forward, or had to play as false nine, or whatever it is. And he showed up in the games that mattered. I couldn't care that Alexis was scoring against Sunderland. I cared that Hazard was scoring a brace against Man City. I cared that he turned up away at the Etihad. I cared that, not that I cared, but he turned up against Arsenal and them kind of stuff, right?
A lot of times, by the way.
He turned up Coquelin too.
Bro, actually, this has nothing to do with the pod. But, Lias, if you had to guess, right? I'm an Arsenal fan. We're the same age. If you had to guess the 3 players I hate the most, what was it 3?
And you're an Arsenal fan.
Yes.
So hate in terms of you don't like watching them, or hate in terms of what they did to your club?
Hate because of what they did to my club.
Drogba.
I'm a little too young.
Oh, Drogba owns your club, man. Come on, that's gotta be number one.
I'm aware, but like I started to watch football in 2009, right?
Yeah.
So like all the main years of him doing it.
Yeah, you saw the latter ones.
Yeah, I saw the last hours, right? But let me say
Okay,
2010s come
so
forward. 2010s come forward.
the ones you hate the most out of the, because I was gonna say Rooney used to own your club as well too, but again,
True.
he's
Yeah.
a lot of
True.
it is before 2009 as well too. I mean, you know who really, God rest his soul, right? But Diogo Jota really had
Ah,
you
my
guys in a
boy, my
headlock.
dog.
Yeah, he used to really crash
He
it on
loved
Arsenal,
playing,
right?
loved playing Liverpool.
But
Yep, he really
I'm
did.
I loved
I'm
playing
gonna say
Arsenal.
Salah.
Yep.
Salah, yes. Salah's
That's
done it to
one.
everyone, man.
Yeah,
Seriously, I'm
everyone.
a
Yeah.
victim as well too, man.
One of them
Um,
was mentioned already for a previous point.
okay, so one of them is Salah. The other one is interesting. Oof. So is it Hazard?
Yes, Hazard is also one of them. And there's one more.
There's
And he mentioned him earlier to make his point about
De
stats.
Bruyne.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
is one of one, bro. I will be in the front of the queue to hate that man for the rest of my
Yeah.
life. Like,
You know what it is though, John. Those are probably the three best players in my opinion.
yes,
Yeah.
of
In
Of
the
that
the
Premier League.
yeah.
generation,
Yep.
Yeah.
right? And bro, I am a true tar that the whole reason that we lost our title in 23-24 is because De Bruyne come back from injury. It's when he came back and
Against
he got the
Newcastle. Yeah.
and he got the goal and assist against Newcastle. I kid you not, I was sitting with my brother watching the game. I was like, yeah, bro, that's the day. They're gonna come back into this title now. And so said, so done. Every single close game they had that season, he scores. I was like,
Unbelievable.
this damn sickening
He's
man,
so
boy. Like
clutch. Yeah,
he's so
De Bruyne,
unbelievable.
man. He's one of he hurt my team a lot of times too, but he is easily one of my favorite players, even as a rival, man. Honestly, the way he played,
Yeah.
the amount of times he came up clutch in big moments, the quality he possessed. I'm big on quality, man. You guys can probably tell
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
For
yeah.
me, how good
Yeah.
of a player are you? For me, De Bruyne, man.
Yeah.
He's one of those players that, you know how we just talked about players, they don't get as much as appreciation as they did before. I think De Bruyne back in the day, man, people would have loved him, man. Seriously, because he plays the game for me the right way. Even though sometimes I find he tends to hug that touchline and cross the ball 50 times. But
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
a special player. But on the topic of Hazard and Alexis, I think honestly it comes down to this for me, right? I think people are so obsessed with numbers, goals, assists, and how many you get. But as we're saying, it's important to contextualize. And I think the problem here is people don't really understand that. And it's crazy to say this because for me it makes so much sense, but I guess some people don't see it this way. Just because you're a striker doesn't mean your main job is to score goals. Just because you're a defensive midfielder doesn't. Just because you're a fullback doesn't mean your job is to stop wingers. I think it's important to realize, especially in today's day and age, that two players can play the same position, but they have a different role on the pitch, right? So Benzema's job as a center forward is different to
Yeah.
Haaland's job as a center forward. Trent's
Hmm.
job as a right back is different to Kyle Walker's job as a right back. And therefore, your expectation of how they execute that role should be completely different, right? You can't just
Yeah.
look at them as the same position and put the same blanket expectations, the same blanket statistic expectations on them because of it. But I think that's what a lot of us do all too often, man.
Yeah. Fully agree, bro.
Can I
Yeah,
ask a
yeah.
question there, John? So,
Sure.
Diaz, I want to ask you something based on
Go
this
ahead.
entire discussion. Just off the top of your head, you don't have to give much. I'll ask you for three. What players currently do you think match their statistics in terms of the eye test? Like players that you watch and they said, okay, right, the statistics line up. That makes sense.
So they match numbers and eye test
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
Well, let's have the
Yeah,
obvious one.
Yamal for
Who's
me.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
right?
Yamal is up there. Even again, people will look at his statistics, but I think if you really dig deep into how good this guy is, his numbers are off the charts, man. I can't lie. Creatively, I don't think anyone touches him in Europe. So I would say Yamal. I mean Erling Haaland, right?
Yeah, that's what I was talking
Yeah.
about. Like, yeah,
he's the,
bro.
he's
Like,
the number one. And I mean, there's a few others, right? Harry Kane, what he's doing is ridiculous. Uh, Someone who matches it, because for me, Kylian Mbappe at the moment is not matching eye test of numbers. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you that. That's not one for me that I would say.
yeah.
Who's another one that really stands out to me in terms of numbers and performances? Maybe Usman Dembele last season as well too. I really
Yeah.
loved his performances and obviously scored and assisted a lot.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm glad you actually brought up him because that's the last thing I want to talk about before we move off this is that, like, last season, I think between Salah, Yamal, Rafinha, and Dembele had the third most goals and assists, right? And I
Yeah,
think there were people who were really upset that he won the Ballon d'Or, right?
crazy to
Whereas
me.
to me, it was like, I give on. Like, yeah, bro, like, he so deserved that, right? And it isn't just, again, about GA, right? Like, you watch these games, you felt like you were finally seeing the realization of a player of the talent that was equal to Mbappe when they were both coming up. You know, and
Definitely.
to me, Dembele, like this sounds super corny, right? But to me, Dembele when he balled it felt like football healing, because it
Yeah.
felt like seeing somebody that you knew was a prodigy coming up and went all the way to the level of being the best player in the world. You know, and that's not to discredit what Salah did last season, because that's one of the greatest individual campaigns we'll ever see. Not to discredit what Rafinha has done, going from Leeds to Barca and stuff like that, and Yamal breaking out. But I think that to me is a very good example of over focus on the stats rather than how they impact games. You know,
Of
like we
course.
all watched the Champions League last year. We saw how, sorry, my bad, but we saw also how every single time Dembele touched the ball, he struck fear into the opposition.
But how do you
You know, like,
quantify that? How do you quantify striking
yeah,
fear into a player? How do you quantify Dembele posing like Usain Bolt while the other team has a goal kick? These are things that you just see them, man. You can't put that on a stat sheet. And I think even more so than that, you said the perfect word: effectiveness, winning games. I think in today's day and age, the biggest problem in football discourse is that people value numbers more than winning. That's crazy to me.
Yeah,
The major thing that I look at when I judge a player is how do you help the team win? And I think for some players, that comes in goals, that comes in assists, but I can't say that's true for everybody. And like I said with
yeah,
Dembele just now, that press from the front, that's not 40 goals like Mbappe scored, but in its own way, that's valuable to his team winning and therefore makes him extremely valuable. But I don't think people look at it enough like that. It's more important for someone to have 60 GA than to have 30 maybe, but 3 trophies on top of that.
yeah, yeah. Well said, guys. And the last one we have is probably a little narrative that I was trying to peddle, but I'll still get you guys' take on it. Is that I think that he probably has a great dominance over the teams outside of Europe. Now, that doesn't mean that I think like a Premier League team is going to definitely win the Champions League every single year. I do think that there's instances like what we saw with PSG last year, where it actually does take a genuine out of this world team to really overcome them. But I think at the start of the season, we are seeing Premier League teams doing really, really well, especially against Spanish teams. And I'm also want to focus on La Liga against the Premier League, because I think, again, you know, we grew up under the generation of Messi and Ronaldo, and for years it was not a conversation. Again, I hated seeing Barca get drawn against Arsenal because I knew exactly what was coming every single year with our field. Real Madrid and Liverpool is a one-way rivalry for the most part, up until recently where they had a 1-0. To me, that actually is what stemmed this conversation for me, because, you know, we saw a month ago, where Real Madrid played all over Barcelona in the Clasico and firmly established that they are the best side in La Liga right now. But then we saw Real Madrid go against Liverpool, who are one of the most underperforming teams in the league right now. And when they look completely out of their level playing at Anfield that day. And so, Leas, the floor is open to you then, you know. Do you think that there is a somewhat significant disparity forming between the Spanish giants and what the Premier League has to offer?
I mean, yeah, Spanish giants, and I would say the rest of Europe as well too. I mean, I think Spanish giants are almost like the last ones to fall. It's like the last
Yeah,
domino to fall after all of the rest of them did. Because, like you said, you're absolutely right. I mean, Spain, in fact, before the Betis lost to Chelsea in the Conference League final, had a record over English teams, or maybe it was just in finals that they never lost. Right? I think it
yeah,
stretched back like 20 years, and you can see. I think it all comes down to the financial aspect. To be honest with you, the Premier League
yeah,
is
yeah,
like a Goliath when it comes to the money that it generates, the amount of money that the teams themselves generate, and then in turn, the amount of money that each team is allowed to spend. You compare the 15th place team in England, how much they spend on in a summer on players, compared to what even the fifth
yeah.
place
Look at
team in
what
Spain is
Sunderland
spending.
has done this year, you know?
Absolutely, it's monstrous, the gap between the two, and when you have that gap exist for 5, 6, 7 years now, it almost just continues to expand on itself more and more and more, to the point now where if Bournemouth go in for a player and Villarreal go in for a player, Bournemouth probably have more of a chance of getting that player than Villarreal do. In fact, hell, I'll go one step forward. Villarreal's best player, will probably end up going to Bournemouth, because that's the
Yeah,
disparity between the two clubs. And then when you look at it from an even bigger scale, yeah, when you look at the best teams in England, the best 4 or 5 teams in England compared to the best 5 teams in Spain, on average, man, you're gonna have more success, just because, like, you look at Arsenal, for example, buying Zubimendi from Real Sociedad. The minute a player at those clubs even slightly starts to show some kind of promise, I mean, hell, Arsenal have the entire Sociedad midfield from a few seasons back in Marino,
Yeah,
Odegaard,
yeah,
and Zubimendi. I mean,
yeah.
Arteta might even lace his boots up and play himself, man. So yeah, it's like how do you compete at that point? I guess Perez was probably the first person to really notice this, and I'm sure that's why he wanted the what's it called, the Super League so bad, right? To almost give these other clubs a level footing because he noticed what was going on in England.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then when you add that on top of how badly Real Madrid and Barcelona have kind of done in transfer windows and managing their club over the last few seasons,
Hmm.
yeah, it gets even worse.
Yeah, and that is actually what I wanted to ask you before I trade to Brandon. Is that like I think what has happened is the arrogance that Barcelona and Real Madrid are accustomed to moving with in terms of how focused they have to be when building their squad is being threatened. That's usually what happens when it is that you have financial constraints compared to other teams, right? Because if we look within the league, before the Premier League became this financial monstrosity that it is, the smaller teams or the smaller budget teams had to be a lot more precise with how they recruited, be a lot more smarter with what they did. Couldn't be as reckless because there were bigger consequences. Whereas now, on the European landscape, the Spanish teams are the smaller teams now. And because of that, they have to be more focused. And it doesn't feel like that focus has been there. And there's almost a reluctance, I have to admit that. I think Barcelona kind of have, but I think Real Madrid feel like because, they are the empire, bro. They are football royalty, that they feel like they should be above that, right? But when we look at how Real Madrid in particular, I mean, we put them under the spotlight here, build their squad. It's so imbalanced. We have a front three of all players who want to play off on the wing, off of a true number nine. We have a bunch of eights in the midfield who don't really want to be a 10, but don't really want to be a six. We have all these centre backs who are really good, but really good next to a more dominant personality. And so we are seeing a bunch of really good players, and all the names are really good. Fede Valverde is getting into any team in the world today. Mbappe is getting into any team in the world today. Vinny, despite being down, will still get into any team in the world today. These names are good, and almost all this applies to Barcelona as well. But the squad isn't what it should be. And so I'm turning it back to you then, do you think it's because of our arrogance then, of that they didn't feel they have to be as smart with how they build their teams, and now those chickens are coming home to roost?
Is that for me?
Yeah, sorry.
I would 100. I mean, that's definitely one reason. I mean, I think Bartomeu being an absolute criminal is another reason
Well,
as
yeah,
well.
yeah. Well, yeah. That's positive too.
Allegedly, that is.
Allegedly.
But yeah, I would say 100%. I think there has been a bit of snobbery when it comes to the windows and the decision making at times, and yeah, man, I think the chickens have kind of come home to roost. 100%. I mean, there was the article recently about how Lewandowski reportedly stopped scoring goals at the end of his first
Yeah,
season,
bro, that's
gave the club 5
crazy.
million. But it seems like that's just like the latest story in what we hear at Barca, who
Yeah,
honestly more lucky. They're lucky, man. Barca are lucky that they have like the ultimate talent factory in La Masia, because without them over the last 5-6 years, I
yeah.
genuinely dread to think where that club would have been post Lionel Messi, who was keeping them afloat for God knows how long. And as for Real Madrid, I mean, I think Madrid will eventually just rise back to the top because they typically do. That's just the pattern of football. But yeah, at the moment, I think they are kind of finding that just saying, oh, it's Real Madrid and oh, they'll get it done in Europe and oh, it's heritage. That doesn't fly anymore, man. Like, I'm sorry, that left when Modric and Kroos walked out the back door. It doesn't exist
No,
anymore.
and yes, this is the last thing I would ask before I let Brandon come back in, is that like we discussed this on the pod recently, that like I think part of it is because they are now losing the last remnants of actually elite all-time players that can't carry the burden enough that these other really good players just have to be good, and they will win enough games and they'll get
100%.
by and they'll win Champions League and stuff like that, right? Because when you have legitimate all-time or caliber players in Cruz and Modric and Benzema that one year and Carvajal stepping up in that last Champions League campaign, you can't rely on these pillars. But those pillars aren't there anymore. Carvajal obviously isn't as fit as he once is. The rest of them have gone on. And when those pillars can't stand up for you anymore, everything else under the house becomes exposed. And I think their house is being exposed right now. Brandon, we're bloody talking half on there, boy. We have to add to all this.
Yeah, well, welcome back. I just came back from a little break there. So I also I don't want to be devil's advocate. Is not the word I want to use. But I think there's also like there's some truths that happen during this. So like yes, I think Real Madrid have built their squad um to be unbalanced currently. I think that Barca's financial situation have also contributed to this. So like the rise of the Prem is kind of coinciding with them being on a down period, and but to get to the other point, I think like what the Prem has done over the past few years, and this is down to City and Liverpool in my opinion. What City did is that they showed to the whole of Europe that you need a solid squad to win any competition, including the Champions League. And when it came to Liverpool, Klopp is the one who told them that there is a not an ideal way, but there is a very effective way to play. And I think that PSG have shown that last season that this is the way that you need to compete with at least the English teams. That you need to build this incredible super team. Like Leah's, if you look at the entire PSG team last season, like you look at the two fullbacks, the best in the world. You look at the front three, the best in the world. You look at the midfield, the best in the world. You look at the centre back and the keeper, the best in the world. Like that is the level that this Premier League dominance has created. Like you have to be so perfect almost. Like they were almost flawless last season. They didn't
Yeah.
go unbeaten for the entire season. But man, everybody thought, wow, this team is amazing, the best team since Barca. They said so. I mean, that to me, that is the answer to what has been happening with the Premier League so far. Like this, Bayern is a good example too. Look at the Bayern team right now; they are pumping on a different level, and they have created another super team as well. So I think that is the other side of it. Like, what is this? What has that done for the game? And is that good for the game? Like, the rest of the team just have no other choice but to create super teams.
Yeah, I think of Real Madrid as well too. Just to add on to that, because in an ideal world, Real Madrid do have a squad. I do think that can almost mimic what you're saying, Brendan. I do think if everything works out and they find Camavinga becomes the player we think he is, and Chouameni puts together, I think they could potentially rival what we're talking about here, right? That's certainly not a lack of quality. I think with Madrid as well too. It's really they're the weirdest club to explain because of even in their
Yeah,
most dominant period. Like you look at their management and the way they're coached, it's like it's so hard to explain it. Honestly, it almost just happens. And I think they've gone from such a specific kind of manager in Ancelotti to now an idea, such a different one in Xabi Alonso. And I don't think that transition has been smooth whatsoever. So I think even more so on top of we're talking about lack of balance and lack, I think as well too lack of philosophy, like what's the right word here? Yeah, in terms of footballing philosophy, I feel like Madrid are kind of stuck between two houses right now, trying to find out where they sit with Alonso. And then, kind of just to wrap it up, I think you know what it is too. I think the direction the game is going in right now, the Spanish sides are really struggling to kind of like match it as well too. When you talk about intensity, you look at Man United last season, were so bad, right? Honestly, the worst I've ever seen them play. They absolutely ran through Bilbao, a Bilbao team that were in what, a top six, top seven in Spain. It
Yeah.
wasn't even a
Yeah.
competition. Casemiro went to Spain last year and looked like the old Casemiro. So I think that's a major question mark as well too. When you look at the direction the game as a whole is kind of going, the average player is
Yeah.
stronger, faster, taller, more aggressive, more intense. You look at maybe the build of a few of these other Spanish sides without trying to look at it from too much of like a stereotypical point of view. But I think they are kind of lacking. They need to make up the gap. I think a little bit in that regard.
Yeah. Um. Anything else really from this to kind of tease out? I mean, I agree with Brandon because, like, I mean, look, you talk about Bayern, right? Bayern front three is built off of Premier League players,
Yeah,
and that is the front three that is dominating their league now. And I don't think it's a coincidence that, like, we see the Premier League right now really prioritize high level athletes as well as being technically
yeah.
superior. And we see that go to the Bundesliga dominate. And I mean, I think so far there's only been one loss between La Liga and Premier League so far this season, and that was the Newcastle versus
Yeah,
Barcelona
Newcastle. Yeah.
game.
Yeah,
Every other game has been wins for for English opposition. And so I guess the question then is, Lee, as we wrap up this and we head into some more lighter heart and stuff, is that do you think there is a way to kind of reverse the polarity other than money? Because I'm well aware that the money is the crux of all of this, right? But like I really do think we are seeing these teams paying for mistakes, bro. Like I think one of the biggest ones that Barcelona is paying for, or the period then, is that period where they signed Dembele, Coutinho, and Griezmann, and none of them work out. And you had three over $100 million signings, and none of them became staple pieces for your side. And now they had a bounce back. So without money, because clearly Barca has no money, how does these La Liga teams bounce back to be more competitive with their English counterparts?
that's a good question, man. I mean, it's tough to say. I think football is cyclical. I definitely think so, but also football is cyclical in a way that a manager comes in or a squad comes in and sets a way of playing that almost influences the masses, right? It's usually a one footballing meta almost brainwashes everybody else into copying what they do. So, for example,
Yeah.
when was La Liga at its best? Yes, when Messi and Ronaldo were there, but also
When
when
Pep
Spain were the
Guardiola,
dominant side in Europe.
yeah.
And as far as I know, I don't think I've ever seen a team almost influence the entire world in how they want to play and develop players as much as that Spain generation did. And I think that also in turn led to the rise of La Liga in that period, where you had Parejo, who looked like one of the best midfielders on any given day. You looked at Canales, like Spanish midfielders, Spanish players were where it was at, and therefore so was the Spanish league. And to kind of summarize, bring that back into today, I think we talk about where the game is going, set pieces, long balls, aggressive, intense players that can play numerous different roles in numerous different positions. I think that's just kind of favoring where the English game is at the moment. So maybe one day, I don't know, typically what ends up happening, right, is someone affiliated with Barcelona in one way, shape, or form comes up and influences the rest, whether it's Cruyff, Guardiola, Messi, who knows? Maybe someone comes in that same image with Barca or Spain or in Real Madrid and can kind of make a league-wide impact in that regard. But yeah, for now, I think it's an English game, man. I do.
Yeah, all right, guys. So we're gonna just go into some quick fire questions for Leah. So, like I told you before, this is mostly light-hearted stuff, and we'll do the trivia stuff afterwards. So, Brandon, I'm gonna let you do most of these because I have the trivia here for when it's time to do the trivia, right? You want to hit him with the first one. I think this is the one that we want to see him do the most, right? So, just a little precursor, Leah, is that we are both very again, like we are all the same age, right? We all grew up on FIFA, right?
Yeah.
And so we're gonna layer blind rank some FIFA songs.
Okay.
Okay.
So go ahead, Brandon. Yeah.
All right,
What
Leah.
was your first FIFA, by the way? What was all of your first FIFAs?
2009.
Mine
What?
was
Good FIFA.
07.
07. Yeah, mine was 07 as well, too. But FIFA 09 was a good FIFA, man. That's one of my favorite ones.
Yeah, 9. So many good
Bro, I
memories.
remember
There.
downloading the
Almost cried.
extra to play Ultimate Team when it had now come out, when they had the
Yeah.
formation cards and the morale
Yeah.
cards and the fitness cards.
Yeah, the fitness
Oh,
cards. That's one of the only things I enjoy about the new FIFA is the fact that you don't have to update your damn fitness after every game, man.
yeah, bro. Bro, I had two
Everything's too
squads
easy
running
now.
concurrently
Ah!
because you had to have. It is
Yeah.
too easy now, though.
Yeah,
It is too
yeah.
easy.
Too easy.
Oh, that's a whole other thing. All right, Brandon, go ahead.
Okay, so Leah's are gonna give you the songs and you're gonna rank them from 1 to 10. You're not gonna know what's coming next. All right. So the first
Yeah.
song is starting off strong. The Nights by Avicii.
No. That's a good one. Yeah. You know what it is with me though, right? I like the FIFA songs that are less mainstream than the others. So
Don't worry, we have those too.
yeah,
We
you know
have
what it is.
those too.
So that's a lot of people's favorites. Yeah, that one is good. I would go. I feel like with blind rankings, it's best to just go safe. I'll go 3.
Oh,
Cool.
okay.
I'll go 3.
All
It's
right,
a
so
good
then,
one,
Brandon, don't
but
worry.
it's not one of my favorites. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay.
All right, so then, don't worry.
Right. Second one, Heat Waves by Glass Animals.
You see, for me, when I think of heat waves, what is that? Like FIFA 19, FIFA 20, FIFA
Yeah, that's
21?
a late one, yeah.
You see, that's when for me, FIFA, I started getting pissed at the game. So it doesn't bring back good memories when I hear that song. So I'm going to go with 4. I'm going to go with 4. Unpopular
Ooh.
maybe, but I
Okay.
think my favorite FIFA songs are the ones where I enjoyed FIFA the most. I didn't like that game.
All right.
Yeah, valid.
All right. When the Day Comes by Nico and Vince.
Yeah, you see, that one right there. Nico and Vince, anyways, they had a nice little run anyways, man.
Yeah.
They had another,
Yeah.
What was the other song that they did? They had another hit song, man. It wasn't in FIFA, but they just did another song.
Oh
I can't remember what it is
Oh my
exactly,
gosh.
but I might give them 2.
2.
Nico and Vince, man. Hey, shout out Nico and Vince, man. They had a good run.
All right. We get into some big guns here.
Day comes.
Yeah.
I go two.
Raging by Kygo.
Raging. Oh, how does that one go again?
Call me
Raging,
anytime when you
see the lightning. Oh, you know they'll always find me. We got a wild one raging.
Yes, that's a good one. I was trying to hear. I was like, "That John, you might not be the best singer," but then eventually the chorus came in. Dun, 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 dun. That's a good one, man. That's a good one. Oh, you see, I actually think that's my favorite of the 4 you've said so far. But my only worry is what's coming last. I've made a mistake leaving 1 and 5 open. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't play this smart. I'm gonna give this one 1, man, because I really like this song. Despite it taking me a minute to understand what John was saying, yeah, that's the one, man. All right, so what's
We
the
blame the
last
accent.
one?
Dreaming by Small Pools.
Which one is that one?
I ain't singing again. I am not singing again.
Hold on, can I go on YouTube real quick and just listen to it?
We got no place to go. Caught
No,
up in a
no,
rodeo.
oh Lord.
no,
Oh,
we
that's a
got-
banger as well too, man. Nah, I messed up, man. I messed up. That's a banger. I mean, I gotta put it 5, man, but that song is incredible. Oh yeah. If I needed, I think everything has to be moved down 1, and this one can go into 2. That's a
I
good
think
one.
most people have Dreaming as like their number 1 ever.
Yeah, that's a
Like,
classic, man. You know, I don't know
is.
them by the names of the song because I never
Yeah,
went
yeah.
to bother to listen to them. It's just in the game I know them so well. Yeah, Dreaming's a banger though.
We both have Spotify playlists with these. We can link
Yeah.
you them. That's no problem.
I'll tell you what though, FIFA 09's soundtrack, that's the one, ladies and gentlemen. If you're listening to this, go back and listen to the FIFA 09 soundtrack. That had bangers, bro.
All right, cool. Next one is so I know this one might take a little time to do, which is fine. But give us your best Caribbean alone Premier League 11.
Oh, so what constitutes as Caribbean here? What are we? What are the
everything from all the islands in the Caribbean and all of Central America. So nothing South America and not Canada,
not USA.
Yeah,
I might
but
need
you
to
can use Mexico.
I might need to pull up my map real quick. Hold on.
What
constitutes as Caribbean and as Caribbean?
Yeah, Caribbean and Central America.
Because Central American is that Honduras as well too? Is Central America?
Yeah.
Caribbean and
because we can't say CONCACAF because then you'll end up picking a bunch of Americans.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah. So we got Belize, Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and Panama. And the Caribbean is a sub-region. And then you got Cuba, Jamaica, Dominican Republic, and Trinidad, just to name a few. Okay. In goal, this is Premier League only or in general?
Premier League
only.
Oh, are we doing it based on their time in the Prem or what they did in their career?
Yes, based on the time in the Prem.
Because I was going to say, Keylor Navas would have probably been my number 1 goalkeeper, but more on what he did at Madrid and PSG. I might throw you guys this one, man. I might go Shaka Hislop, bro. I can't lie.
Let's go.
I might go Big Shaka, man. I grew up with Shaka Hislop on ESPN FC as well, too. So I'm trying to think. Is there anyone I'm missing? I think it's between those two, right? Yeah, I would say I'll go Shaka Hislop, man. Why not?
You're right. Cool.
Okay, I'll go Shaka Hislop. All right, now defense is where it gets difficult, right?
There is a Premier League winner in here.
Yeah, I was just going to say a Premier League winning captain as well.
Wes Morgan. Big Wes. Yeah, come on. Yeah. Big Wes Morgan in the back. I was going to say, if I go quickly up front, Dwight York is making my team for sure.
Yeah, there you go.
Dwight York.
So many Jamaicans, bro.
Do I go Mikel Antonio? But you guys had Kenwin Jones, man. I can't lie. Kenwin Jones is a baller too, man. The backflips, excuse me. Kenwin Jones, I think Mikel Antonio has done more. I can't lie. I liked Kenwin Jones.
I mean, bro, this is fluid. So you could pick whatever formation, whatever. It's like 11. So you figure out what you want to do there. I mean, to be fair, technically you could stick in Mikel Antonio and right back because
I could. That's
where he broke out.
Yeah. No, I'll go Mikel Antonio up front for now. I'll go. What's his name as well too? Who's the guy who used to play for Arsenal? Costa Rican.
Joel Campbell.
Joel Campbell. I'll go Joel Campbell on the right. I'll go Brian Ruiz as well too. Brian Ruiz has to make my team.
Shout.
Nice.
Okay, now I need to lock in as well too. The thing with Jamaica now is they got a lot of players that they're not naturalizing, but I don't know if I can count them. I want real Jamaicans. I want real Trini guys in my team.
So last week I went the Trinidad versus Jamaica game, right? Do you know how surreal it is that I saw Isaac Hayden playing for Jamaica?
Yeah, man.
I remember him coming through the Arsenal academy and thinking, yeah, bro, he's gonna make it. Yeah, he really did make it.
He ain't make it, man. He had a decent Premier League career, but yeah. I think of Isaac Hayden, I think of English. I'm sorry, man. I don't think Jamaican.
Yeah.
Like, it's same with now. What's his name? The Rico Henry at Brentford now can play for Jamaica.
Bro,
he played for Jamaica, yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Okay, so who am I putting next to Wes Morgan? Let me think of the other center back. Out of these countries. Oh, hold on. Let me go Honduras a bit. So Honduras, Wilson Palacios will make my team.
Nice. Good shot.
Wilson Palacios will get in my team. You know what it is? Mikel Antonio is going to go right back. Because up front, I'm going Hugo Rodriguez. Hugo Rodriguez, not Honduran. No. He's South American. No.
American, yeah.
Who was the other one that played for for Honduras. There was actually for Wigan. There was actually a guy from Barbados as well too. Let me look at.
There was.
Let me look at Wigan 2010, man. Who was part of that team? Is it?
And
Well, before I do, it's like Boyer or something like that. Wigan Boyce. Oh, Emerson. Is it Emerson Boyce? Was that his name? Wigan 2010. I think he's from Barbados.
I actually
Yeah,
can't
but I think he
remember.
is Bajan, actually. I think he is.
I think
That's
he
true.
is Bajan.
Yeah. I have the Honduras player I think he was thinking about, but
Yeah, I'm trying to look at that. So Hendry Thomas was the other one I was thinking of from, but now I'm gonna leave him on my team. Was it Emerson Boyce? Yeah, it was Emerson Boyce. Does that count?
yeah.
Yeah.
That can count as Caribbean.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Cool.
Okay, so we'll put Emerson Boyce in there. So that's my other center back. We got Mikel Antonio at right back. Left back. Oof.
There's somebody who currently plays for Curacao who played in the Prem for a little while.
Barsal.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And I think he was their captain actually during this campaign. I
Is
could be
it?
wrong. Is Bakuna is his name, man? Yeah, Bakuna.
Oh,
Yeah.
Bakuna, he played for Southampton.
Yeah.
Is
he
it him?
did.
It's him, right, Bakuna?
And funny enough, he's not one of them who naturalized to Curacao. Like he actually did play for Curacao
No, Bakuna
before they
was
had this
with
whole.
Huddersfield. Yeah, he was with I think he was with Huddersfield. Yeah, Huddersfield. Okay,
Right.
we can go back. He plays left back. Or he
We
can't
can
play
play
left
right
back.
back, but we could move it
Let's
around.
throw him out left back, man. There you go.
Yeah,
Play left
yeah,
back
yeah.
today in my team. So then midfield, what did we say? We had Wilson Palacios and Brian Ruiz in the midfield. We'll put not Jay Rodriguez. We'll go Joel Campbell, at right wing. We have the two guys up front in Dwight York, and we'll go Kenwyn Jones. So I just need a left-sided player. We need a left-sided player. Let me get into my database of ex-players, man. El Salvador. Who's the most famous El Salvadorian player? I feel like there's one we might be forgetting. El Salvadorian players.
You want to help him out, Brandon? I know you say pull up the Honduran. You think he was thinking about?
Nah, well, he already got past that.
Oh,
So.
you know what?
Okay.
My good friend Amenia would be very disappointed. Oh, but he didn't play in the Premier League. I was going to say Magical Gonzalez, but he doesn't play in the Prem.
Oh no, yeah,
He didn't play in the Prem. So who else do we really have here, man? Oof. You guys might have to help me with left midfield.
Where's Brian Hill from? Is he from?
Nah, he's Spanish, I'm pretty sure.
Oh
Yeah,
right.
he's
Yeah,
Spanish.
he played for the Spanish youth teams.
So there's a Jamaican. There's a few Jamaicans
Yeah,
recently.
I thought he was gonna say
actually.
Damari Gray, you know.
There's Damari
Yeah,
Gray.
yeah.
There's Leon Bailey. There's Devonka Reed.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Ooh.
I know none of them really hit high peaks. In the Prem, like I think Leon Bailey actually ended up being a little.
Leon Bailey's a
disappointing
good one. I'm not gonna lie, but Damari Gray
Yeah.
as well too. He was someone I always thought of when I thought of Yeah. Ooh. No. Yeah. I'll go Damari Gray. I like Damari Gray. Premier League winner as well too, man. Leicester City. Yeah, I'll go Damari Gray.
All right,
That's
cool.
what we'll go
So
with.
in goal, we have Shaka Hislop, then Mikel Antonio, then Morgan, then Boyce, then Bakuna, then across the midfield.
The back four is shaky. The back four.
Yeah.
We ain't doing much.
Then we have across the midfield four, we have Damari Gray, Palacios, Brian Ruiz, what a name, and Joel Campbell. And then in front two, we go Trinidadian board is Kenwyn Jones and Dwight Young. Hey, and to be fair, we have two Premier League winners in there though. So
There you go, man. There you go.
Leicester and the treble winner. Bro, I to this day think Kenwyn Jones, Dwight Young was robbed of not being high in the Ballon d'Or back in those days, bro. Like when you look at what his
Oh wait, you said Kenwyn Jones or Dwight York?
No, Dwight York.
Dwight
Sorry,
York.
Dwight York.
Kenwyn Jones. Hey, you might be losing me.
No. But like Dwight York accomplishments, he had the trouble, bro. It's actually crazy.
Yeah,
you know, really, and he
maybe in today's day and age with GA, man, he might have actually done it. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. All right, Brandon. Pull our next question now.
Okay, so Liaz, the one and only time that Trinidad and Tobago has been in the World Cup was in 2006.
No. Don't do those yet.
I knew 2006. I knew it was in 2006.
No, but don't do those yet. Still do the quick fire ones, Brandon. We'll do the trivia after.
Okay, hold on.
I'll put one then while he.
No, I have it here.
Okay, cool. Good.
Who do you? Okay, so give me your best 5 Algerians of all time.
Of my generation, or who do I think are the greatest of all time?
Who do you think are the greatest of all time?
Okay, you got Riyad Mahrez, you have Rabah Majer, you have Belloumi. My dad would say Belloumi. Oof. I'm going to go a few my generation as well, too. So those two are my dad's generations. I'll give him credit for those two. I would go Mahrez, of course, too, because he's the most successful Algerian in Europe when it comes to Champions Leagues and stuff like that. I would also go... You know me, yeah. I don't think he was as successful as other people, but who I just thought was an unbelievable player was Brahimi. Brahimi's one of the most talented players I saw. I thought he was unbelievable. And alongside him,
I really wanted us to sign him when he was at Porto.
Yeah, I thought he was so good. And then even in Spain, there was a season where I think he had the most dribbles completed for... Was it Girona or something? No, it wasn't Girona. I can't remember who he was playing with. But he had the most dribbles completed in La Liga behind Messi. Like, it was crazy.
Right.
Wow. So I'll go him. And you know what? He wasn't my favorite player, but he's the top scorer in Algerian history. I'll go Islam Slimani, especially
I knew it.
2014, he had some huge... He's not my kind of player, man. That guy, I used to always say he's like a basketball player. He plays half the game in the air. But he's the only footballer I ever saw better with his head than with his feet. But what he did for the national team in big moments, I go Islam Slimani.
Okay, so you don't have to call the person's name for obvious reasons, but what is your worst take that you've heard on SDS?
Oh, the worst take I ever heard on SDS.
I'm sure you have to think about it a lot there because there probably been some streamers.
And I'm trying to think of anything Faisal said. He's the first one I thought of. No, the worst take in general that I heard on SDS. You know what it is? I think it might have been... I mean, Faisal saying Arne Slot wouldn't last till November was bad.
Yeah, that's a stinker.
But he also had another one where when Jude Bellingham...
I love how he's so trying to package it now. Like,
he's sick.
No, never late, just early.
He's ill, man. He's ill. There's another one he had as well, too, that I don't think gets anywhere near enough criticism. And it's that he was saying, around the time Jude was at Dortmund and linked to go to Real Madrid, he was saying, we should go nowhere near him. Like, if the Real Madrid, if Perez listens to me, he should go nowhere near him. And he's like, Real Madrid don't want anything to do with a player like that. And I was like, actually, I disagree. I think Real Madrid would love to have a player like that. And he's like, well, they should listen to me. They should never sign Jude Bellingham. And then a year went on, and he was doing this Faisal was doing this at Barcelona's ground in front of their fans.
I remember that.
That's a bad one as well, too. Liban said Garnacho had superstar potential. I don't like that one. I'm trying to think through everyone. Me, myself, I've had some stinkers as well, too, man. I can't lie. I've had some stinkers.
I can't remember what the exact take was, but I remember it had... You know the episode that y'all do where it's like, you have to try and find the imposter then on the fake the fake statement, right? I can't remember what it was, but I remember you were so determined that Sharky's statement could have never been true. And then when it was like that completely changed how you saw how his takes was.
Yeah, there was one like that. I'm trying to... what was it? He did have a take like that just made me think, what the hell are you talking about? I have to go back and check it out, yeah. Sharky, though, I would say has the most underrated ball knowledge on SDS, man. He actually knows football. But
bro, I fully agree. Like, I obviously watch the content as well, and I think the ones that have you, him, Fuad, which sounds controversial given I'm an Arsenal fan, right? But Fuad and Faisal, this be the best ones, right? And the reason being, I think Fuad is one of those content creators, and you can tell him I say this, is one of those who knows how to behave in the right company. But you put him in
that's a very good point.
But you put him in the wrong company, he stops knowing how to act, bro. Like when you compare him on DR Sports or on the other platforms compared to SCS, it's two different people. Brandon,
I'm gonna tell him you said that. That's good. That's good.
So who are the top 3 content creators that you've worked alongside?
Top 3 in terms of
your favorite, the ones
you've liked
working alongside the most, yeah.
Oh, so content creators, right? I mean, Culture Cams. That's my guy. I'm biased though. I mean, I live with him, so
here for water. He's gonna be nice if he didn't say that.
No, but I think Cam is very underrated as a creator, man. And I'm really happy that he's taking YouTube more seriously now, because for me, when it comes to like being an orator, being someone entertaining but also like really knowledgeable on the game, I find him so good. So I would go Cam. This is so hard because there's so many. Are we including journalists in this as well? Oh, hold on. No. In fact, James Alcott by far.
I was waiting for you to say it.
In fact, James is
one of one, bro.
He's unbelievable, man. For me, I've always said it. He's my favorite content creator. And he was someone that I looked up to massively years back. So James, unbelievable guy as well, too. Who else do I really enjoy working with? Oof. I was gonna say doing not because I didn't
You
work with.
can't say League One, because you are the whole representative for League One, bro. You can't go and say that.
Who else do I really enjoy working with? I mean, there's so many. Honestly, everyone on SDS. I almost feel like picking one out of SDS is unfair because for me that's like a unit. So I won't include anyone from SDS because I love all of them equally.
I know the
Maybe that's a
guys
cop
from
out.
Sky Sports. You do plenty. We'll go like Doug Critchley and those kind of
Yeah,
guys.
Doogie is great. Who? Trying to think someone that really stands out to me that like every time I'm with him, I'm like, yeah, this is great content.
Bro, I know your answer. The answer is gonna be us, because from here
Yeah,
on
my
forward,
new friends here, man. Honestly, my new friends here. I enjoyed this conversation. Now, I like people that look at the game from a nuanced point of view. So I've enjoyed this. There's
yeah,
a
I
there's
appreciate
there's a
that, man.
few, man. Someone who's really underrated, man. I don't know if he's my number one favorite to work with because in fact we haven't done too much together, but I find him very very underrated. Aaron Sakaya. I think Aaron Sakaya is extremely
Okay.
underrated. If you guys don't know who he is, he's German, Belgian. Like he has so many different backgrounds: Sports United, Sports Bayern, but he covers all of European football so well. I find him really really underrated. So I would give a big shout out to Aaron Sakaya because third is tough, man. Cam and James are my top two guys, but the rest, it's like you're splitting hairs here.
I had very strong opinions about Cams a few years ago.
Yeah.
Not
So
like
did I.
you know, thing. But like seriously, Laz, you and him have given me hope that United fans could be sensible, because like two of y'all have single-handedly changed how willing I have been to consume content. Specifically, like okay, it's Arsenal and United, bro. Like there
Yeah.
is beef there, right? But like the fact that I go out of my way to watch Culture Camp's content now says so much of how I think that he has elevated his content, bro. I really do think it's really
You
good.
know what it is with Cam, and I would say myself as well too, and a few other people, but I'll stick with us too, right? I think there's a lot of content creators that they like football, but they love their football club. I
Yeah.
think with me and Cam, we almost love the game more than we love our football clubs, right? That's not to say we're not Man United fans or we're not real Man United fans, but we
Yeah.
really love the game. And I think when you're watching someone's content, you can tell based on the way they talk about stuff outside of their club, how much they actually
Yeah.
just love the sport versus how much they love their team and they love the banter and the tribalism, which is great. But this is where I guess different kinds of content comes in, right?
Liaz,
Yeah.
I
Right.
must say I find it very interesting that you and Cam's room together, and I must assume that it's in your roommate agreement that you had to pick one of the Chelsea midfield to hate on, because I know you didn't. You hated on Caicedo and he hated on Enzo. So is that part of the roommate agreement? I just want to know.
It's in the list. It's in the list.
I got an NDA. I can't reveal that, but no, Caicedo. You talk about one of my worst takes.
um,
One of my worst takes with Caicedo. I hold my hands up with that, man. I can't think of many players I've been as wrong about
Damn.
as Moises.
Well, okay. Well,
I watched that
that,
video that you put out, and I had the biggest smile on my face. I was like, "Yes, he's on our side
Are
now."
you a Chelsea fan?
Yeah,
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 he
yeah.
is.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, yeah.
okay. No, Cam with Enzo though. I don't think he's ever changing on that
Yeah,
one.
John
Man.
Joe
So,
Shelby.
so we on the pod, right? We try to wear football jerseys, right? However, if I come on the pod and I don't have an Arsenal jersey, Brandon makes sure not to wear a Chelsea jersey, because he
Okay,
says that if I'm in being the fan, he also is gonna do it as
it's
well.
balanced. I hear it.
So just two more. Well, you don't answer the one just now with Caicedo would be like the one take you probably regret the most. What is one? I guess I kind of answered this, but I'll still ask you. What was one journalist slash analyst that you look up to a lot?
So when I was kind of deciding that I wanted to do this seriously, and even before that, because one thing about me, like with me, this isn't just content for me. Like even when I wasn't doing this as a job, or I didn't even know this was going to be a job, I've just been football nuts. So I used to have, I remember like a whole collection of like magazines and books from journalists that I just read about football. And for me, my main ones have always been Julien Laurent, Sid Lowe, Ralph Honigstein, and James Horncastle. For me, those are like that's the big four of football journalists, and I admire them so much. First of all, because they're amazing at what they do, but I think they've done one of the hardest things imaginable in this industry, and that's being someone who didn't play at a professional level,
Yeah,
being
and
able to
make
go
it.
on
Yeah.
TV and speak with professionals and not seem out of place and be respected for their opinions. Those four for
Uh,
me are pioneers and trailblazers, and
you
those are my goals.
you did work with Julian around
Yeah,
on the zone for the Club World Cup, right? How
yes.
surreal then that was then to be able to do it with
Amazing,
one of
man.
your
Again, it's
heroes.
someone that I've grown up watching and reading and amazing, but also not even just to be around him, also to see how he works and take like information from that and take hints like tips from that and being able to rub shoulders with someone who's had so many years of experience and interviewed so many players. And yeah, that was surreal, man, honestly. And also, I have to add as well, too, just a great guy as well, man, honestly.
Yeah. Brandon, the
All right.
last one.
So this might be the most interesting question of the lot, actually. So, who is your favorite footballer of all time? And when I say favorite, probably the player that made you fall in love with the sport, a player that you'll always watch if their comp comes on, like on your YouTube page. Like, don't give me Messi and Ronaldo. We don't want to
Yeah, I
hear
mean,
that.
Messi is probably the boring answer is Messi,
Yeah.
because I remember when I was a kid, I was, man, like diehard Messi. Like, oh man, like for the longest time, my username on Twitter was Lias Messi 10. Like Messi was my favorite player. But like that's the boring. Everyone loved Messi or Ronaldo, right? It's kind of hard to explain, right? Because you said who's your favorite player, who's the player that made you fall in love with the game. Those are different answers for me. The player who made me fall in love with the game first was Fabregas. That was my first ever favorite player. So he's
Wow.
always going to be number one for me. But my favorite player, I would say that like is Mahrez, man. It's Mahrez. Like in terms of just someone from my background who also is from a similar area from me, who I saw his entire journey from the start to now. Like I can't ever like describe. I don't want to say relationship because I'm not parasocial like that, but just like almost watching a
How
player
he influenced it,
in
yeah.
front of my eye, like from start. I watched this guy in France, man, before he even came to Leicester. To then come to the second division in France, to then be on the bench the season they almost got relegated, to then be the best player in England, to then win something with my national team, to then win a Champions League. To now, it's like wow, that's the player that I think of when I think of football.
Given the very little information that you know about the two of us, right? What do you think our favorite players are then?
So you started watching football 09.
Yeah.
When did you start watching
However,
football, Brendan?
the small hint I would give you is just like you, my favorite player and the player who also made me really fall in love with the game was not playing for my club
Okay.
at the point in time that I started to watch football.
Yeah, so
So
was mine. That's
so is
the
yours.
And
funniest
so
thing.
was his, yeah.
And
Yeah,
when did you start watching football, Brendan?
2004.
2004. Okay. I guess you know what, a question like this, it really also depends. Like you need like I need to know what positions you guys played or like what players you really, really love. Like I think
So
that really helps me like think who's your favorite player.
um so the players that you've said already are actually amongst my favorite ever. I really admire his Truta, bro. I'm not saying that just because you're here. I think he's so underrated and so underappreciated. I think he has, with all due respect to Berbatov, right? I think he has just as good a first touch as Berbatov. You
Agreed.
know, and,
So
and
good.
I think his legacy in the Prem should be so much greater than it is. And if it wasn't that, oh well, he just joined City, then I think it would have been spoken about so much better how much he actually helped City win all those titles. But
Yeah.
I do like playmakers. I do like very creative players, and I like when I play like pro clubs and stuff like that. I don't care to score. I rather create for other men.
Create. Okay. Are you it's
However, in
tough.
real life, I play centre back, so like it doesn't make sense me telling you that,
Yeah,
right?
it's tough. It's tough. It's tough. I mean, there's so many great players. A
And his name
creator,
was mentioned in this pod already.
Iniesta. Is it Iniesta?
Nah,
No,
but close, very
close.
close in terms of player
In terms of
position.
player. Is it oh okay, you said it's not Ozil because he didn't play for your club.
No, so it is Ozil because at the
Oh, it is.
time,
Oh, but you fell in love with him through Real Madrid.
yeah, and so like I could tell you exactly where I was when the night that it happened that he signed for us. That like it was so surreal to me to see somebody that I had love from afar that I generally thought that we had zero chance ever of signing him
Yeah.
show up at our doorstep, bro. And I told you before this that like I started to watch football because like a friend more or less forced me to, right? And like I was watching it and whatever. When it is I started watching Ozil week in, week out, bro, that to me I saw football in a whole different light from there, bro. Of like what was possible with the
Yeah.
ball at your feet,
I
which
think
is
that's
probably
that's the
why.
most beautiful thing. That's the players that make you dream, bro. It's the players that make you just like think, how the hell did you
And,
even do that?
and I think that is probably why. Like Brandon will tell you this. Attacking midfielders now, I'm extremely critical about them, and it's probably because like I hold them to an unrealistic standard, right? But I knew what I grew up on. I knew Ozil was the gem of a crop of the Matters and the Silvers and the Fabregases and all those guys now would be clear best midfielder in the world if they come now. And some of those guys wasn't even mentioned in those conversations then.
Yeah.
But
I'll
yeah,
say this, right? Mahrez is my favorite player. A large part, as good as he is, a large
mhm.
part of it is also like due to non-footballing reasons. I think the
Yeah.
player I loved watching the most, though, like genuinely, like, oh my goodness, if I could turn on my TV to watch one player that wasn't named like Messi or Ronaldo, I don't know. Here's there's a few as well too, because I love like the likes of Verratti. I love for me, it'd probably be a two-way tie between Hazard and Neymar. I think those two for me, like, wow, turning on my TV in 2010s, like just seeing them literally destroy teams just through like dancing through them. Yeah, if it wasn't for Algeria and Leicester, that would be Mike Samaras. But in terms of just who in my eye, I look at, wow, how is those two for me?
So Brandon, give him some hints now as to what yours would
All
be.
right. So, Liaz, my favorite player of all time is a World Cup winner from 2010.
Okay. I mean, did I mention him already?
No, you did not.
Okay.
Uh,
So Spanish, obviously. Oh, but there's so many to
he
pick from.
crossed a divide.
Is it Fernando Torres?
Yeah, that is my favorite player of
There
all
you go.
time.
Because I'm thinking you're a Chelsea fan as well too. You didn't get to see the best of El Nino though, man. Oh
Yeah,
my
well,
goodness.
that's the
Man.
thing. I fell in love with him when he was at Atletico Madrid, and I was like, "Oh my god, I want
Okay.
us to sign this guy
Yeah.
so badly." And then he went to Liverpool, and I literally watched Liverpool every single game. I became a Liverpool fan just because of him. So when he signed for us, I was through the moon, bro. I was like, "Oh my god!" It didn't turn out like the best, but I mean, I still enjoyed it. That was
Yeah.
like that to me was like understand what a fan really is. Because everybody used to say everything about Fernando Torres, like how terrible he is and whatever. And I just they're like the only fan, like, no guys, he's not that bad. You know,
Yeah.
he played good. He played well this week.
I'm not gonna lie, by the way, he was that bad looking back on it. But
Yeah,
Torres, man, you know what it was? I think about it sometimes, right? And how tribalistic we are, and like how much we look at other rival players and like basically shit on them if they don't play for your team. But I just think to myself, like, Torres was one of those players that it didn't matter who you supported. You just loved Fernando Torres. Like, he played for my biggest rivals. And yet I liked Fernando Torres so much. I couldn't understand it. And I think a lot of people would admit that as well too. Like, everyone just had something about Torres. I don't know whether it was the aesthetic or the way he played or the goals. I have no idea, but he was so likable.
yeah. I still have an opinion that Prime Torres is the closest thing to R9. I don't know
The
if you
course
find
to
that a hot
R9.
take.
Ah, yeah. Yeah, you might have lost me there, man. I don't know if I can agree with that. But I loved R9. I love Torres. I remember I even had like a Spain Torres jersey. I used to love Fernando Torres, man.
John, are you still with us?
I think John's having issues, I think.
John's just in and out. Here he is. Are you hearing us now?
Yeah.
Right.
Hopefully I didn't lose anything afterwards, but I'll
No, it's
check
still
him out.
recording
I
here.
think you're good. I think you're good.
Okay, cool. All right, cool. Let me do the trivia now. We'll let Liaz get out of here. All right, so first question, Liaz. Actually, Brandon, go and ask him the question. I was going to ask him before now. The
Okay.
World Cup one.
Trinidad and Tobago have only made it to the World Cup once in their history, 2006. Can you name the three teams that were in the group with Trinidad and Tobago?
I think I can.
What?
Were they in the same group as England?
Yes, England is one.
So I think I remember who England were in a group with. But the thing is, I'm like, did they play this team in the groups or the round of 16? And I think it was the round of 16. I think they played Ecuador in the round of 16 and not the groups. So Ecuador is not one of the answers, right?
No.
Right, because
No.
Ecuador, they played in the round of 16. I think Beckham scored a free kick against them. So it was England. It was Trinidad.
It's funny you said Ecuador because they have a similar color shoot.
I was saying it was Sweden in that group.
Yes, Sweden is the
Yeah,
second one.
Sweden was in that group. And I want to say, yeah, because Joe Cole scored that volley against Sweden. I remember. And then, who did Peter Crouch score against? It wasn't you guys, was it? Peter Crouch.
Yeah, he did score against us,
He scored
actually.
against, he did the robot against you guys. So who was the last team? Was there an African team in your group?
No.
No.
It's a South American team.
It is.
It's a South American team.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think who was in it.
I try to remember.
Uruguay didn't qualify for that group, or didn't qualify for that tournament.
No.
Obviously not Argentina, not Brazil, not Paraguay, because Paraguay's first one for a while was 2010.
It is actually Paraguay.
It is actually Paraguay.
It was Paraguay.
Yeah.
Why did I think Paraguay 2010
We,
was like our first appearance in forever? Ah, fair, Zach.
hey,
I have no Paraguay played in the 2006 World Cup.
Yeah.
Liaz, you need to give one number to Sharky because I managed to do what all a mastermind hasn't. It's find a question to stop the mastermind himself.
Let me ask you who Algeria played in 2010.
Hey, whoa. Hey, I know they played Germany. And you know how I know that? Because Oza scored the volley against them.
There you go. Paraguay
Did-
2000.
Wasn't it
Paraguay
like Germany,
2006.
Portugal, and something? I can't remember.
Yeah, it was. They got a group of that, bro.
Yeah,
Wait, which
USA,
one?
Portugal.
Oh, I was saying Algeria. Can you tell me who Algeria qualified played in 2010?
I honestly thought it was Germany, Portugal, and
Nah. That was USA in 2014. We played England, USA, and Slovenia in 2010.
Oh,
Oh, yes,
damn.
that's true.
2010.
That's
That's
true.
Who did you guys? So 2006, they lost. They beat
We
you guys.
won no games, bro. In fact,
Oh.
we couldn't even ask you to name the goal scorer because there was none. We had no
Fair.
goals.
You were at the tournament, man. That's all that matters.
Yeah, bro. All right, cool. Next one we have is Kenwin Jones was famous for scoring on his debut. Can you name all the Premier League clubs that he played for?
Probably not. I'm not gonna lie. I know he played for Sunderland.
That's one. Yeah.
I know he played for Stoke.
Yeah.
Right?
There's another red stripe team.
Yeah.
Red Stripe team.
Yeah,
Charlton?
it was actually a running joke that he only played for red stripe teams because his team in Trinidad was also red striped as well.
What is Middlesbrough?
No,
Red
close.
stripe.
Yeah,
Sheffield United?
no.
I don't have any
no.
recollection of him at another Red Stripe team. I'm not gonna lie.
It was really early on. In fact, it was only a loan that he went there for.
They just got
And
relegated.
They just got relegated last year, but they were
Well, they got
up and
relegated
down.
last season.
Yeah, but
but
they
who
were
got
up and
relegated
down.
last year? That's what I need to think of. Who got relegated? Leicester got relegated. Ipswich got relegated. Who was the last club that got relegated? Oh my god, it's the one club that we need to get. Oh my god.
And people said they might have broke Derby record last year because they were so bad.
Oh, Southampton. He played for Southampton.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he did.
I have no
And
recollection of that.
so that's three. The two other clubs both had red associated with them.
When
But
did he
one
play
of
for
them-
them though? What, was it
Huh?
after Stoke? Did he play for
No,
any of them
it was
after?
Southampton was his first Premier League club.
Yeah.
And then he went on loan to Stoke. Then he was bought by Stoke. Then he went to Sunderland. Then he went to this next club that used to be red, but they went and changed their club badge and everything to blue, which was so controversial at the time.
Cardiff. I remember him at
Yeah,
Cardiff.
Then
at
he
Cardiff, well
scored
done.
on the debut, got Cardiff. Then they got
Yeah.
relegated. And then he got loaned back to the Premier League with a team that were red and black
Red and black.
for 6 months.
Red and black. I
They-
remember that
they-
Cardiff thing because they were pissed about that.
They
Yeah.
are current red and black. They're currently in the Premier League.
And
What,
doing
what-
very
what-
well.
what season was it? For me, the hints are better. What season was he in the Premier League?
2016, I want to say it was.
16, 17.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A red and black team.
A red and black team. And are they not in the Premier League right now?
Yeah, they
They
are.
are.
They are. They're doing very
They're in
well
it
right
right
now.
They're doing well, you said.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was on Bournemouth for
I
6
could
months,
tell you.
bro.
Cardiff,
Yeah.
I remember. Cardiff, it actually rings a bell now. I remember him singing for Cardiff. Bournemouth, he played for Bournemouth.
Yeah, that's
That's
crazy,
like,
right?
oh my god! I need to see a picture of this, like legitimatize that. What the hell? Bournemouth.
Brandon, while he's searching up that, ask him another one now.
Wow. But he didn't play with him in the Prem, did he?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, it was only for 6 months when he came back up, I think.
I'm seeing him a lot in the Championship.
Oh, well, my
No,
bad.
no, you're right. Wait, maybe,
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know. You could be right. I don't remember it. I'm not gonna lie. That's beyond me. Kenwin Jones, fair enough.
Don't worry, Liaz. We have a much easier question for you now.
Okay.
Okay. Can you name for me the top 5 highest African assisters in the Premier League?
Mohamed Salah,
Yeah.
He is number 1, 89 assists.
Riyad Mahrez.
That is number 2, 61. Can you get it in order?
Oh, in order. What's the number for number 3?
56.
56.
56. I don't think Sadio Mane had 56 assists in the Premier League, but I feel like he's in the top 5. Is he in the top 5?
He is. He's fourth
He's
with
fourth.
38.
Yeah, 56 then. That's a pretty big jump.
One of the most aerially dominant strikers the Premier
Is it
League
Drogba?
has ever seen.
Yeah, he is.
Drogba.
56
Drogba
assists,
had
number 3.
56 assists.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, to be fair, I mean, he was basically a lob threat for Lampard. Okay, then I need 5 then.
Yeah,
Mhm.
36 assists.
Is it Yaya?
No, Yaya is actually 6th with 31.
Okay, so 5th.
He played for a lot of clubs.
Yeah.
Most of them big clubs, but a lot
Most
of
of them
clubs.
big clubs.
And he's probably the most famous player from his country in the Premier League.
Ever. Yeah, by far.
Far.
In fact, I was gonna say if you know somebody else from that country, I'd be surprised by it's you. So it's all possible.
Is it? It's not Adebayor, is it?
It is Emmanuel Adebayor with 36 assists.
Assists, man. I wouldn't even register how many assists Adebayor had, bro. I wasn't keeping track in 2008, man.
All right, 2 more, right? I gotta ask you what I think is the easier one, and Brandon will ask you the harder one. According to our research, there are 9 players who belong to confederations outside of UEFA, CAF, and CONMEBOL to have played for Man United. 9. Can you
So
name
outside of UEFA, sorry, CAF and what?
and CONMEBOL?
CONMEBOL.
So Argentina, South American football.
Okay, so 9 players that have played for Man United that didn't play in Europe, that aren't from Europe, South America, or Africa.
Yes.
Amazing.
Can you name 7 of them?
I would try and guess 9.
All right, cool.
Let's go.
Tim Howard.
Yeah.
Tim Howard's one of them. Dwight York, we talked about.
Yeah.
Park Ji-sung.
Yeah.
I think we had a Chinese player before. Dong.
Yes! Dong
Yeah,
Fangju.
Kagawa.
Yo!
Yeah,
We got
Kagawa.
Shinji Kagawa. I'm gonna try and get 9. We got Shinji
Five.
Kagawa.
He's so close.
5.
He's so close.
Giuseppe Rossi is American, but he doesn't count, does he?
No.
Yeah, I think he's born in America, but he played for Italy.
Yeah.
Okay, so he doesn't count. Okay. Now this is where it gets a little difficult. This is where. Oh, did I say Park Ji-sung?
Yeah.
I said Park Ji-sung. Okay, this is where I need to properly lock in now. Again, Hargreaves doesn't count for Canada. He doesn't. Chicharito.
No.
Chicharito.
Yeah,
Chicharito.
Chicharito. Nice.
Chicharito.
So that's 6 so far, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
Australia counts, right?
Yeah, so there's
We had
2
what's his name? We had the
Australians.
goalkeeper. What's his name? I can't remember his name, but we had a goalkeeper, right?
Yeah.
I was literally just doing a quiz where I said his name the other day. I can't
Sounds
remember
like a
his name.
country.
But
Yeah.
he's from Australia, no?
Yeah, there's 2 Australians actually.
I know the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper's pissing me off. I can't remember. Bosnick?
Yeah, that's correct,
Bosnick.
yeah.
There you go. Bosnick.
Yeah.
That's 7. So we had another Australian outside of him.
Yeah. With a very boring name, you'd never think he's Australian. Yeah.
The other player that you're missing is actually named after a former Ballon d'Or winner.
Named after a former Ballon d'Or winner.
Ooh.
I mean, there's so many. I'm not gonna lie. This one, I don't know if I'm gonna get.
Do you know multiple players that have played for United named after Ballon d'Or winners?
I mean, the Ballon d'Or. There's so many Ballon d'Or winners. That's the thing.
A French Ballon d'Or winner.
What's his name? Zidane Iqbal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
the last
If you get
one-
this last one, I'll be super impressed.
And he's Australian.
Yeah.
Yeah, but for some reason, I'm checking it back now, and it's saying now that he didn't. Oh no, he did play. Yes, he did play. Yeah, I know. I checked to make sure he made at least 1 appearance. Yes, he did play.
Australian. I'm not gonna lie, man. There's nothing that's really coming to mind. Like, there's not even like someone like, oh, I know he played. I just can't remember his name.
So is somebody named John O'Brien?
Yeah, honestly,
he has
that's-
1 appearance.
that
One
could- that-
appearance
I
in
don't know who
11
that
years. Yeah,
I don't know who as far as I know, he doesn't exist.
yeah. But
And it's
hey,
the most NPC name ever.
yeah.
There you go. John O'Brien. That sounds like some, you get into FIFA career mode 20
I,
years later, they give you John O'Brien.
okay, Brandon, ask him the last one now.
Okay.
The highest score in. Yeah.
Okay, got it. Yeah, okay. So, Liaz, I want you to give me the highest scoring Premier League players who belong to CONCACAF nations.
Highest scoring Premier League players that belong to CONCACAF nations. How many
Yeah,
are there?
so that's Canada, Canada, Mexico, USA, come all the way down to Trinidad. So all the Caribbean, all Central America, Mexico, all that.
Wait, so I have to name the top scoring player for each of those countries?
No.
No.
I want you to name the top 5 in the Premier League of CONCACAF
Yeah.
players.
Okay. Dwight York.
Yeah.
First with
He's the most.
123.
Clint Dempsey.
Third with 57. Very
Oh,
good.
third. All right, but I was thinking second then is...
So the second one kind of.
All right, he's shaky.
It's stupid because he only started to represent this country the other day after he done score all the goals.
Oh,
but-
Mikel Antonio.
Yeah, so he's second with 67.
Is Chicharito on the list?
But if he
Chicharito
can give us
is
the
fourth.
top 6, if he can give us the top 6 though, that would be cool.
Okay, so I got 4 right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chicharito. Is there any other American on the list?
No.
No.
Not in the top 8.
One is currently playing in
Yeah.
the Premier
Currently
League.
playing.
By after what looked like his career was going to get right off.
Oh man.
Because he had a really bad injury.
Really bad injury, and now
Versus Arsenal, actually, the injury happened.
it happened versus Arsenal. Oh,
Mhm.
Raul Jimenez.
Yeah.
By the way, super underrated player. At his
Love
best.
him, bro. Oh
Yeah,
my
he was
god,
really
he's
good.
so good. Yeah.
He was really good. Is he number 5?
Well, he's the 6th one, and
So we need
we
5.
have. No, sorry, he
The
is
sixth.
5. He is 5.
Yeah.
It have somebody here with 50, but I don't know why it listed like this. That it make it look like thing. But there's one more player, and he's Jamaican. That would be the 6th one.
6th from Jamaica.
Yeah.
With 50 goals.
I'll be honest.
56th, yeah.
I don't know who this guy is.
It's Roberts, Jason Roberts.
No, but you have the first name correct.
Oh, Jason Roberts.
He probably thinking about the same person, and it's just the wrong name. You know?
Is he playing for Blackburn? No.
Jason Roberts did play for Blackburn though.
That's
but
what
it's
I'm
not him.
thinking of. I think I'm thinking of different people. There's another Jason from Jamaica. Man, I'm not gonna. This guy didn't play for Charlton, did he?
I think he did,
I think he did. I'm now checking it here.
That's his first.
He did play for Charlton. He played for Middlesbrough. He played for Southampton. He played for Blackpool as well.
The Blackpool might give it away, actually.
Yeah.
It's not DJ Campbell, is it?
No,
No,
that's a
DJ
good
Campbell
guess.
just scored 50 goals. He played for Blackpool in the Premier League,
Yeah.
Yeah, well, when Blackpool was in the Prem for that very
and he has
short
50
period.
Premier League goals.
Yeah, well,
I
it's
had
a
no
good
idea.
few teams he played
Oh,
for.
wait. Blackpool.
His first name is Jason, by the way.
Punton.
It's it.
No, that's
No.
good. That's a good guess too.
Yeah.
Junior Hoylett? I'm not sure. I don't know. Jason, I have no guys, my mind is blank right now.
His name is Jason Ewell.
Jason Ewell. He did play for Charlton.
Yeah,
He did. Yeah.
Oh,
We
I
said
thought you
yes.
said he did. I thought he said no. That's who I was thinking of. That's who I was
Yeah.
thinking of. I would have said Jason Ewell. Okay.
The other players that made up the top 8 was Paul Wancho from Costa Rica, and then obviously Kenwin Jones. Who had
Okay.
40.
Jason Ewell, I know. He played for Blackpool in the Prem.
Yeah.
He
Yeah,
must have
man.
been on the end of the bench by that point, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Jason Ewell. This
Bro,
is good match.
you'd be surprised it was random Premier League players that did show up in the Prem.
Jason Ewell.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a good spell with Cardiff. Not with
Yeah.
Cardiff, excuse me, with Charlton. Oh, he was, man. Fair enough. Okay, all right.
So I believe that is all that we actually have for today, guys. Liaz, we want to thank you so much for coming on, bro. We just let you know, anytime you come Trinidad, food is on us, everything is on us. You just let
I'm
us
there,
know, bro.
man. I'm there.
And Next year for Carnival, feel free to bring on the SDS
Hey, I
team.
might have
We'll
to
hang
pull
out,
up.
bro. No worries.
Yes, you might pull up.
Thank you guys so much for joining us here today, and we'll catch you guys next time. See you soon. Take it easy. Later.